Okay, in this video we're going to go P2 to P3. So P1 is address. You've already got the checkpoints to look for it too, so there's P2. Now how do we get to position 3 or P3? Well, the wrists are going to continue to hinge a little bit. The hands are going to work towards the heel line because the chest and hips are starting to or continuously rotating. And that's the end, or that's P3. Checkpoints to look at. If you draw a line across the back of the lead glove, and then the back of the right hand. Hands are kind of mid-shoe on the right foot. Left arm is parallel to the ground because that's P3. And the left arm is across the toe line. So it's not, if the hands were out here underneath the chin, the lead arm would point in the same direction as the target line. The lead arm is across the target line. So that's an important checkpoint to look for. As far as the angle of the shaft, it can point at the golf ball. It can point slightly like halfway in between the feet and ball line. But anywhere in that range would be acceptable. Another checkpoint to look at is the leading edge of the club face. It should roughly match the spine to some amount. If the leading edge is back here or the leading edge is over here, you have the club face either massively open or too shut. Okay. Otherwise, you can look at the tilt of the shoulders is pretty much 90 degrees to the spine. Okay. So if the shoulders get too flat, the posture, you'll start to stand up out of your posture. But other than that, we look at the tip of the right elbow is not protruded past the spine or the back of the spine. And then it's kind of hard to see because he has a white shirt on, but the right bicep is kind of pointed about a foot behind his heel line. Okay. And eyeballs, both eyes are on the golf ball. Okay, let's go face view. So there's P1, there's P2, and there's position 3. You generally like to see the head not moved right or left. There can be, depending on the player, a 90-degree angle between the lead arm and the club. Some people won't be that much, but in that general range, that's a good checkpoint. Left knee is kind of moved slightly in towards the golf ball. And if we scroll him back for a second and put an outline of his hips, there's been no lateral movement of the pelvis away from the ball, actually, because he's turning in a very central manner in his hips. The right hip appears to get slightly closer to the target. It's nothing you really need to do this extravagant other than turn around the center of your body. And because your hips are circular in shape, it will appear that your right hip's getting closer to the target. And that's a good P3 from face view. We'll go back one more time from the other view. And let's just look at the knee activity from this view. So P2, P3. So from this perspective, the right knee has slightly increased its flex. The right knee does still have some flex. Some people teach to lose the flex in the right knee. I'd say if you can keep a moderate amount of flex in the right knee, that's probably the easiest thing to do. When you start to straighten the right knee too much, the tilts in the body start to change too dramatically, and the weight can start to shift back and front across the feet. But that's a pretty simplistic model, I think, of P3. Again, nothing bizarre happening other than making sure your tilts stay good and that your hands are kind of generally kind of lined up. If you could look at it from that perspective, both hands together kind of around the right shoulder area. And then we'll look one more time. Now Mac and he's still alive, but he's pretty flexible. So when he gets to P3, shoulders have turned probably 85 degrees by now. So And we can't tell how much his hips have turned, but I would say probably about 30 to 40 degrees. If you have no hip turn here, you need to work on that. If you have no shoulder turn, you need to work on that. Okay, so there's P2 to P3.